Hello, I'm Lindsay Holiday, host of the History Tea Time YouTube channel and podcast. Katie and Nathan wanted me to let you know that this show is liberally sprinkled with colorful language. If profanity spoils your party, then this may not be the podcast for you. But if you enjoy expletives in your comedy history podcast, then I think you're going to love it. You may also like the taste of my podcast, History Tea Time, where I spill the tea on history. I profile remarkable queens and LGBTQ+ royals from across the world, explore royal family trees, put modern royalty into historic context, delve into topics like how women of the past gave birth and handled their periods, and much more.
Hi, this is Katie.
And this is Nathan.
And you're listening to Queen's Podcast, the show about badass women in history.
Guess what time it is?
Is it time for another episode of Queen's Podcast?
Yes, it is. And I'm so excited about this next topic. You guys are gonna love it.
I am obsessed. I get a little bit obsessed with every person that we cover, but oh my God. This woman, she was a superstar, a dancer, a singer, all-out performer, businesswoman, absolute wild life. She was also a World War II spy, activist for civil rights. Nathan, who are we talking about today?
We are talking about Josephine Baker.
Oh, I am obsessed with her. This has been so much fun to cover.
Yeah, and so for the drink, we're drinking the Josephine Baker. So in Booze Clues, I couldn't tell you the name of it because it's her name. So it's 1.5 ounces of cognac, 1.5 ounces of tawny port, and then about 1/2 ounce of apricot liqueur, and then a little bit of so you're supposed to add egg whites and I did not want to do that. So I ended up using some cherry bitters instead to kind of echo a little bit of an old-fashioned, but a little bit sweeter with some fruity notes to it. So cheers. That's what we're drinking. The Josephine Baker a la Nathan. It was good. If you like an old-fashioned and you like whiskey, you'd probably like this because it does have that citrusy kind of whiskey flavor to it. So Katie's not a big whiskey drinker unless it's Fireball.
Oh, I do love Fireball. Or the peanut butter whiskey.
Yeah. Oh, God. Ooh. Don't remind me. Hangover.
Oh, my God. Well, okay. Before we get started, we got a couple of shout-outs to do for our Patreon supporters. Hoo-hoo! All right. So, first of all, thank you, Lindsay, Madison, Cole, and Faye.
Also, shout-outs to Nicole, Shayla, Stella, and Ingrid.
Thank you. And of course, thank you to all of our Patreon followers. And hey, just anyone listening, if this is your first time or 50th time, welcome back.
Sparkle, baby, sparkle. Yes. Today, we are talking about Josephine Baker, a.k.a. Frida Josephine McDonald.
Yes.
Who was born June 3rd, 1906 in St. Louis. Meet me in St. Louis, Missouri. So that makes her a Gemini. Ooh, I love her already.
I did a scan on Twitter and was like, how do you pronounce this? And overwhelmingly, everyone was like, it's St. Louis. You pronounce the S.
Okay, so somebody needs to tell Judy Garland to re-sing that song.
Hey, Judy!
Hey, bring her from the dead. Who knows necromancy? Anybody know necromancy?
We can just do a seance.
Louis. No.
Louis. Yeah. So, yeah, she was, she definitely was born in St. Louis, Missouri. The birthday is a hard probably. One important thing you need to know about Josephine Baker is that she was an unreliable narrator for her own life.
She wrote stories, and those are air quotes.
Yes. She told a reporter once, "I don't lie, I improve on life." And
I love this.
The co-writer of, because she wrote several autobiographies, but that's the thing, like, they don't all tell the same story of her life. And so one of the co-writers of her autobiographies once said, Josephine liked to not remember things all the time.
This, all signs point to Gemini. All signs.
This bitch is peak Gemini. She is the duality, the outgoing, she is. I definitely believe that she's a Gemini. So, yeah. Also, in one of her autobiographies, she wrote that a Black childhood is always a sad childhood. And unfortunately, we're going to talk about some bummer shit in
because the history's a little bit racist today.
Yes, it's true.
So this time in American history was not chill if you were a person of color, and Josephine definitely felt that. So her mother, Carrie McDonald, had dreams of being a vaudeville dancer, and she was really good. Like, she performed locally around Missouri. Everybody knew her name. That was in the local taverns. But those dreams came to a halt when Carrie got pregnant. So let's rewind a little bit, back into the 1900s. And if you got pregnant and you weren't married, big deal.
Big stigma. Like, I mean, it's still a lot of people do still view it as a stigma. Obviously, it's not like it was in 1906. Who is Carrie's baby daddy? Who is Josephine's dad?
So do you want the long answer, short answer? What are we looking for here?
The answer? Queen's Podcast. We want a long answer. Let's spill that tea.
So Carrie told Josephine that her dad was a vaudeville drummer and co-worker of Carrie's named Eddie. This probably wasn't true, but for starters, Josephine was born in a hospital, which seems to she was born in a hospital. Pretty normal. But in the 1906, everything was segregated as hell. You weren't Black and born in a hospital. No. That's only what white women did. They were the only ones that were able to afford to be able to go to the hospitals to have baby. And Black women had babies at home, And with Black women, something went wrong during childbirth. Oh, well.
Good luck. It's nice knowing you. Hope it goes well. The fact that Carrie had Josephine in the hospital was the talk of the town. Everyone's whispering, who pulled strings to get her in here? Who is footing this hospital bill? Because she was actually in the hospital for 2 weeks. Ew. I know. So it must have been a really, really rough delivery. And so, again, the fact that she had a baby in a hospital bed, she had to have been a factor. And also, we'll learn later, this will come up several times in Josephine's life, she had a much lighter complexion than the rest of her family. So this leads all signs point to that her biological father was probably a rich white guy that was just in the town.
Okay, so totally off topic, but kind of on topic. I watched the Harry and Meghan documentary.
Okay.
And it's very much this kind of vibe of a fair-skinned Black woman who's treated like shit. So let's continue.
Oh no, it's a reoccurring theme, especially in her childhood, which we will get into. It's
a reoccurring theme in history.
Yeah, with her family, she was lighter than them, so she didn't fit in with her family. And then with the white people, she's too dark to fit in there. So she just, in St. Louis, she just really didn't have a place that made sense for her.
That's so fascinating to me is how even amongst races, they can be you're not Black enough or you're not white enough.
Well, that's nothing that we can speak to as being the two whitest people who have ever lived in this world. That just from my research of Josephine, that was a huge struggle in her early life, just not having a place to fit because she wasn't black enough and she wasn't white enough.
Yeah, and tons of poverty. We don't understand how she would have grown up. Like, she didn't even have shoes to wear.
Right.
They didn't even have a toilet in their apartment.
If Carrie's boyfriend, if Josephine's dad foot the bills for the hospital bill, that's the only thing he ever did. Because they grew up, like you were saying, just like, I feel like a lot of times in this show, we talk about these women's childhoods that we could never relate to because we don't know what it's like to grow up in a palace. But I feel like similarly, we could never.
Speak for yourself.
I know. Sorry. I forgot about Palais Foster over there. But we could also never relate to her childhood either because of that level of poverty. Like, they would kill, like, they would catch rats and sometimes eat them, like, at their house, like, because they just didn't. I know, because there were so many rats and they needed something to eat. Like, the level of poverty that she grew up in is something that you and I will never relate, never understand, #blessed, but like, just so sad.
Yeah. And then to support them, Carrie got a job as a washerwoman. And at this point, it's really sad. This is where she started to resent Josephine for all of this. Mm-hmm. It's like, really, you're going to be upset that you gave birth to a child and, like, it's not her fault for being born.
She didn't ask to be fucking born.
Right? But as a result, Carrie never really gave her eldest daughter affection, which might be why she's in showbiz.
And that's showbiz, kid. Because none of us got enough love in our childhood. But no, she was like, well, you're the reason that, me having my unplanned pregnancy with you is why everybody looks on me like I'm garbage. You're the reason I had to leave my true passion of working on vaudeville. You're the reason I'm now living in poverty because I have to support you. That is just too much to put on a little girl that didn't, like you said, didn't ask to fucking be here.
Yeah, right. Not my fault that, you fermented me in your uterus.
Yeah, she had no part in it.
Say that?
Fermented in the uterus? I don't know if that's really the process, but sure.
In gay world, it is.
Okay.
So when Josephine was just a few years old, her mom married a guy named Arthur. And Arthur was a very kind man, but didn't really help with that whole poverty thing. It seems like stepdad probably suffered from some kind of depression, anxiety, because he just laid in bed all day and he couldn't motivate himself to get up and do something.
I saw the phrase habitually unemployed several times in my research to describe her stepdad. Habitually unemployed. Sounds
like a lot of my ex-boyfriends.
Same. But so at least he was. I mean, it seems like he was always nice to Josephine. We hear a lot of horror stories about stepdads and these like type of situations. So he was nice. He just was another mouth to feed that wasn't making any money. So yeah. So mom and stepdad have a few more kids. And like we were saying, Josephine doesn't look like her brother and sister. Like, she is lighter skinned, so she doesn't fit in with the family. And her mother will, like, comment on it. And it's something that she's hyper aware of. Can you imagine? That's so, like, in your own home, like your childhood home that you're growing up in, even if you're poor, it's supposed to be a safe space. But, like, even at home, her mom's just like, well, Josephine, you really stand out, and that's just so sad. Josephine just didn't fit in anywhere as a kid. No,
and as a result, I can definitely sympathize with this. She developed a love for animals because you know what, cats and dogs aren't going to tell you you're the wrong shape, size, color, gender, or they don't care. Yeah. Like, they want to just hang out with you.
They're going to be nice.
That's exactly what she wanted, is just something to care for. So she developed a deep love for animals for the rest of her life.
Okay, Now, Josephine is 8 years old, so it's about time that she gets a fucking job, don't you think, Nathan?
Yeah, because babies need jobs.
That's like actually our number one theory here at Queen's Podcast is that we think that maybe babies don't need jobs. But
No.
she's 8 years old. Time to start pulling her own weight. No more time to be a fucking slacker. So she goes and lives with a white
8-year-old.
Deadbeat 8-year-old. She goes and lives with like a middle class white family in town to be a domestic like live-in helper. And because of course they did, because history is horrifying, they abuse her.
Yeah. Sorry. There's so many feelings. So
Poor baby.
There's one story where she was helping them with childcare, and she kissed the top of their baby's head, so they hit her.
Like,
How dare you be affectionate to my child? I'm going to slap you. What?
You also child. Like, if someone is giving your child childcare, don't you want them to like comfort the child and make the child like, and that's such a natural thing to do. When a child is giving your child childcare, maybe reassess everything.
Like, come on. These are basics. Ugh. But the worst is that one time Josephine, still a child,
literally
put too much soap in the laundry. Which, I mean, I might have done the same thing myself.
I don't know how they washed clothes back then, so I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, right. So the lady of the house finds out and then puts Josie's hands in scalding hot water and burns the fuck out of them. And it landed her in the hospital. Like, she's 10.
Yeah.
At the oldest. Yeah. What the is wrong with you?
I also just don't understand this. Like, yeah, maybe Josephine didn't have like the autonomy to quit because she's like, she's supporting her family, so she can't quit. But if you're so unhappy with her, just fire her. Don't burn her hands.
10.
Like,
she can find another job.
I didn't spend a whole lot of time researching her time with this family because it was such a fucking bummer to like think about like you're a child. That's what is wrong with people is what I'm getting at. What is wrong with people?
And speaking of what's wrong with people, when she was 11, there was an event that took place that shook her to the core for the rest of her life.
Mm-hmm.
So, Katie.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the East St. Louis riots before?
Before researching this, no, I hadn't. And it seems like it just seems like one of those things that American history just brushes under the rug. It's terrifying.
You mean Black history gets swept under the rug?
It's almost like there's a pattern of that reoccurs here. But yeah, it's like, this is basically, it's a fucking massacre.
Yeah, and they documented 39 people, but that's documented. We're 99.99999% sure there's a few other people sprinkled in that death count.
Yes, there's for y'all that don't know about it, and we're not going to talk about it too much here because it's a bummer. Let us know if you want a deep dive on the East St. Louis riots on Patreon or something. But yeah, it was just the. Very long story short, the Black neighborhood in East St. Louis was basically, they were like, white people came and were like dragging people out of their houses, beating them to death, setting houses on fire. And like you said, 39 people were documented killed. It was probably more, but hundreds, if not thousands of people in that community were left homeless because they burnt all these apartment buildings down. Like,
yeah,
it's, oh God, it's so depressing. And yeah, had you heard about it before this?
Yes, actually I had. And it was like part of the Daisy Bates history research that I went down.
Did we talk about
So
this
it's like,
in the Daisy Bates episode?
no, but it did come up
it
in
just
her
came up in the-
story
okay.
to inspire. Yes. So
Interesting.
Josephine wasn't actually in that part of St. Louis at the time, but she would later say that her and her siblings could see and watch everything that was happening from the other side of the Mississippi River. So, deep breaths. According to Josephine, she could hear the screams of people running for their lives. That shit affects me, and I wasn't even there. So,
And you were a full-ass adult.
Yeah, and I'm white.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine being in the time as a person of color, hearing other people running for their lives. This had to have affected her for the rest of her life.
Oh, and it did. She would bring it. She would talk about it as much as she was given opportunity, which I do love that about her. Like she didn't hide from the traumas of her childhood. Like when she
wrote about them in her documentaries and probably improv half of it.
when she had a platform, she would talk about this.
Yeah. Also fucking terrifying.
Hashtag I hate it here. Absolutely. 100%.
So somewhere along the way in childhood, Josephine fell in love with dancing. And
Girl,
if you're not French, dancing means dancing. She would later tell stories about dancing on street corners as a kid, hoping people passed by would throw her some coins, which hashtag same girl. And she loved it. Like loved it.
Yeah. She loved the music. She loved the rhythm. She loved the attention it got her. Okay, something we need to know about Josephine Baker. This bitch loves attention, which is incredibly relatable.
Gemini, hello. Where's my stage? Where's the lighting? Can someone cue the sound? We're ready to perform, darling. We're Geminis.
Funny how if you don't get attention and affection at home, you go out and seek it from strangers.
What's that quote? What's that quote from Chicago?
Because none of us got enough love in our childhood, and that's showbiz, kid.
It is, because somebody's got to put on a show, right?
And Josephine Baker was like, it's me. Hi.
Yeah, she's a ham girl. Like, she likes to make people laugh. She's really good at it. Mm-hmm. And honestly, this is on par for the course, where people who have traumatic lives and have to deal with a lot of issues end up being the funniest fucking people that you can ever fucking know.
It's true.
Because they know how to make bad things funny. And she's funny as hell. Like, she's the it girl at this moment.
Everybody that she ever knew is just like, say what you want about Josephine Baker, but that bitch knows how to work a crowd, and she's funny as hell from a really, really young age. So at 13, she's working at a restaurant. I guess after the whole hand burn thing, she was like, you know what? Maybe washing clothes isn't for me. So she's working at a restaurant. At the age of 13, she meets husband number 1. Not like at the age of 13 and then 5 years later they got married. No. At 13, she marries a guy named Willie Wells. Except, little asterisks, even back then, 13 was below the legal age to get married. So we're going to use quote-unquote marriage very loosely. Her quote-unquote first marriage at 13.
Underaged marriages are not good marriages. So not a lot is known about this marriage.
Quote-unquote marriage.
Except that it was short. Imagine that. And by the ripe old age of 14, she considered herself a divorced woman. Could you imagine being like
a girl?
A 14-year-old being like, I'm throwing a divorce party. And you're like, what?
What? I wonder if it was a way to escape her unhappy home with her mom.
Oh, 100%.
Because I actually see a lot of parallels in this story. Do you remember Victoria Woodhull?
Oh, yeah.
Probably the only other woman that we've discussed that grew up in this kind of poverty. And also married super, super young to get away from her abusive family. So, yeah. Yeah, so she's divorced, so she's got to go back to work. 14-year-old out there living her divorced life. And she gets a job working at a theater as a laundry cleaning and like dressing room cleaning, just like cleaning person.
And she didn't want to get her hands burnt that time because she actually wanted to be on the stage. Again, that's French for stage.
Le stage.
Le stage. So she made sure everyone in the production knew that she was going to be the one on stage. And guess what? I could dance.
And she learned, like, she would go, like, when she was in between cleaning, she would watch the dancers dance and then go teach herself the dance so that she could tell everybody, like, I've learned all the steps. So, you know, if you ever need an understudy for one of the dancers, I can dance. Did you know that I can dance? I've been dancing my whole life. My mother was a dancer. Did I mention that I could dance? If y'all ever need a dancer, I can dance. And around... And like, so everyone,
I'm a
everyone
kitty
there.
cat, and I can dance.
Oh my God, you just unlocked a memory. I hadn't thought about
That
that.
is a core memory.
Oh my God, I haven't thought about that.
I'm a kitty cat, and I can dance.
And I dance. I do sexy things while I'm dancing. If I can find that, I'll put it up on Instagram. Jesus, I hadn't thought about cat.
So around this time, she married again. Another Willie Baker. Last name might sound familiar. And this time she was 15, which is apparently the legal age to marry in the 1920s. But she didn't want to quit her job because she was like, okay, look, eventually one of the showgirls, they're going to get sick. And I know all the steps. I know all the dances and the dances. And I do sexy things when I'm dancing. And they're going to give me the part because
eventually
I do sexy things when I'm dancing.
She's like, eventually. Oh my God. Our listeners who are like 21 are going to be like, what the fuck are they talking about? Like,
go look up cat and dance.
I'll find it. Anyway, but yeah, she was like, it's literally just a game of odds at this point. If I know all the steps, eventually someone's going to have to call out sick one day and they're going to need me. I can't quit my job. And this was a huge rift between her and her mother. Her mom was like, you're never going to be a fucking dancer. You need to let this dream go. Dreams don't, like, that's not going to pay the bills. That's not. And she was like, look, you have married this Baker guy. And Willie Baker, we don't know shit about him, but it seems like he was nice and he had a job. So the bar is on the floor, but that's where the bar was for women in the 1920s. And so it was like, you need to just stay home, take care of your man, keep house, cook, have babies. And Josephine's like, that's just not where I am in my life. That's not at all what I want to do.
She has dreams of dream gone by and hope and high of life worth living. She's singing Les Miserables. She has dreams. She has dreams. She's 15. She's got to give it a shot, man.
You can't give up on your dreams when you're like, she can't even drive a car yet. I don't know what the law around driving cars was back then. You can't tell a 15-year-old that, yeah. Did they even have laws back then? Did, like, babies drive cars? Probably. But it was like, no,
babies had jobs, so babies
had jobs,
cars.
so babies could... Look, my 6-month-old needs to make it to their shift at the coal mine. Here's the keys, baby. Like...
Sadly, we laugh, but this is probably what happened. So she got her chance when she was a dancer in a troupe called the Dixie Steppers. Ooh. As a Dixie Stepper and had to quit. And someone was like, hey, I think that skinny laundry girl knows all the steps to
how do you know that? Because she won't fucking shut up about it? Like, did she mention to you that she knows all the steps? We know she has all the steps. Somebody
so let's give her a chance,
costume.
right? Yeah. Come on. It's her turn. I
don't think anyone expected her to succeed. She wasn't the right look. She was super, she was a lot younger than the other girls. the costume that they gave her. Again, she's like 15. She's super skinny. She hasn't got her boobs in yet.
This is my favorite part of the whole story. They gave her this costume that's way too big, way too ugly, and she's just like, "What the is this?" Somebody's joking. Somebody's
fucking ridiculous. Well, like she's 15, and the woman who she's replacing was like a grown-ass, voluptuous woman, and she's like 15 and doesn't have her adult boobs in yet, like, and so she's like, I look ridiculous. I look like a joke. So she made it a joke. She was like, well, I'm good at jokes. I'll just make this whole thing a joke.
I love it. So she goes out on stage in this chorus line and starts doing this dance. And I'm not talking like da 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 da. Like she's not dancing like all the other dancers. She's pulling out these silly faces, gangly arms, crossing her eyes, sticking her tongue out, gangly legs, and the audience is loving it.
She is being goofy. Everyone else is straight dancing, doing their kicks and stuff, and she's like tripping over herself on purpose, just being a goofy bitch. And like after a few nights, word gets out like this girl in this show is fucking hilarious because the audience all thinks it's on purpose. Yeah. And so more and more people are coming, and so then the showrunners are like, give her more and more time. Let's give her a solo. Let's give her a bigger part. Like, people are loving it.
And the Rockettes are pissed.
The Rockettes are pissed.
The Rockettes are pissed. And this bitch walks in acting a goof face, and she takes the spotlight. No, this is a joke. You're a little girl. Like, what is going on here? But they throw her makeup away. Like, these women would throw her makeup away, hide her costumes. The Rockettes are mean, girl. Like, not in real life, but no, in this story.
We don't know any Rockettes. But in this story, the Rockettes are like, we take this seriously, and you're acting like this is a joke. So they were not nice to her. But
and then Josie like channeled her inner Taylor Swift and started singing, "Haters gonna hate, 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 hate."
Yeah, she's like, let that shit roll on right off my back. In the words of famous philosopher 50 Cent, let them hate, and if they hate, watch the money pile up. And she was like, whatever. I'm sure 50 Cent was a big part of Josephine Baker's life. But she's just like, let them say what they're going to say. I don't give a fuck. Fucking, they're coming to see me. They're not coming to see you. Whatever. Hide my makeup. Whatever.
So in 1922, they take the Dixie Steppers on the road. And she was like, goodbye, Willie Baker.
Bye, Willie Baker.
Hello, New York.
Hello, New York. New York. Concrete jungle where dreams are made of
something you can do.
Okay, I can't wait to hear about Josephine taking New York. But you know what? I need to top off my drink.
Yes, let's do so, and we will be right back.
Have you ever wondered what really happened to Amelia Earhart or the lost colony of Roanoke? Do you ever find yourself scouring the internet for vicious Victorians and their murders by gaslight? Or perhaps you're just sick and tired of women being constantly misrepresented or plain lied about throughout history? If so, join me, Katie Charlwood, history harlot and reader of books, on Who Did What Now, the history podcast that's not your history class. Part of the Airwave Media Network. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Adios, au revoir, au revoir, my friends. Bye-bye. I'll be seeing you.
What's something you learned in history class that you feel wasn't the whole truth? Better yet, what's something you didn't learn at all that was omitted completely? That's what I'd like to call redacted history. I believe that all history, no matter how good or bad, needs to be told. There are wars, massacres, battles, and entire historical events that are just not in our school's history books. Have you ever heard of Mary Bowser? I didn't think so. My name is Andre White, the host of the Redacted History Podcast, the place where history's forgotten events, heroes, and villains get their story told, one episode at a time. So come huddle around the campfire with me and get ready to hear the stories that you were robbed of. And get comfortable. We're going to be here a while. The Redacted History Podcast. Real history never dies. Stream the Redacted History Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts.
And we're back.
Yes. So, Josie is in New York performing with her troupe. This is probably already exceeding her dreams. Like, this poor little girl from St. Louis is now in New York performing. But she's like, okay, while I'm here, I may as well start auditioning for other shows. Like, take what I can get. But when she'd go and audition for Broadway shows, she'd like wear makeup to lighten her skin, but they kept telling her, you're too dark, you're too skinny, like you're not passing. And that must have been really hard because, you know, she's probably already got a little bit of a complex for that as well. And then I also read like she would go, because the Harlem Renaissance was having its moment in New York at this point, which was just like a boom of interest in Black culture that was like a little bit more mainstream. But a lot of the time she would audition for stuff in, like Black troops, and she was told she was too light-skinned. So it's just like, ugh. I know, that trauma coming back. Like, ugh.
Ugh. And eventually she did land on Broadway in, okay, I'm going to name this show, I hate it here. The name of the show is The Chocolate Dandies.
Which sounds delicious for a candy, but not for people.
Not when you wear blackface.
She had to wear blackface in this show.
That's
What?
bad. And even in the 20s, that's bad. Like,
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Come on. You're making a half-black woman wear blackface as if
Anybody
not
would.
good enough already. Like, she felt demoralized. And, like...
Did she? We don't know.
I would. I would. Like, oh my gosh.
But if she did, she didn't show it in her performances. She ate it up. She left no crumbs. Not a single crumb. Because like we said, fucking ham. And ham's gonna ham. She gave every single performance of this goofy-ass show 110%. And Nathan, did the people love her?
Yes, they loved her.
This goofy, skinny, funny girl. She was a fucking hit. Absolutely nailed it every single performance, which we knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, and sad side notes, she's sending money back home to her mom, and it seems like her mom was really ungrateful about this. Yeah. And all she wanted to know was, hey, when are you coming back home to have some babies and be a housewife? Like, really, Mom? I'm on Broadway. Like, really? And her mom, who you would think wanted to be on vaudeville herself, would be like, yay, but Mom, unimpressed.
Do you think maybe her mom was jealous?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Like, I always wanted to do this. You certainly can't do it if I couldn't make it. And now that her daughter's starting to make it, she's just jealous. The Chocolate Dandies didn't last that long. I think the run was about a year, maybe a little bit less, but it wasn't considered a huge hit. But people were talking about Josie. She was the one thing from the show that stood out, like, okay. So in 1925, at the age of 19, Josie was approached by this socialite woman, and she was like, I'm producing a show. I'm wanting to put together this show that I want to open in Paris. And then after Paris, I want to tour it all over Europe. And I want you to be our lead dancer.
At the time, in a lot of Europe, Black entertainers are very popular, which is nice, but also kind of icky because they had this fascination with Black culture at the time.
It wasn't even so much Black culture at the time. It was just like, it was a trend to be into Black performers in a way that just seemed almost, what's the word?
Demoralizing.
Like it was a spectacle. Like it was a trend. Like do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And we decided to not say some of the names of the shows or numbers she was in, but basically the show that this American producer was putting together was going to be called The Black Review. And it was made up of 25 Black actors and dancers, and Josephine would have been the primary dancer, if you will.
So I couldn't really find anything about how Josephine actually felt about this. Like, was she proud to be starring in an all-Black show? Did she care what she was in so long as she was in something? Did she feel like a spectacle? Did she feel like she was capitalizing on a trend? Like, I could imagine being like, look, is my heritage nothing besides like a passing trend for entertainment for you guys? Who knows? Was she nervous to be in a whole new country? Remember, back then, you would travel to France by a fucking boat. Like, that's a long journey. She's never left America before. She doesn't speak French. We don't know what she was going through mentally at the time, but we have to assume she's going through something.
She's going through it. Nerves. Excitement, fear, sadness, scared, all the emotions everywhere,
all
depression. Yeah, but we have to assume that she heard about what it was like in France for people of color, because at that time in France, segregation wasn't a thing. And in case you don't know American history at the time, we're gonna get a little dark here because
skim over it. Let's not dive deep into segregation, but let's just give people the TLDR of what segregation was.
If you were Black, you couldn't eat with someone who was white in the same restaurant. You couldn't use the same bathroom. You couldn't use the same church. You couldn't use the same water fountain. You couldn't use the same anything. Non-whites, you are a second-class citizen.
Yeah. So I'm sure she had heard that France was integrated, but like she probably didn't fully believe it because that's all she's ever fucking known. Even when she was living in New York, which was like the cultural like centerpiece like for forward thinking in America at the time, still there it was segregated. So I'm sure she heard, oh, it's not segregated there, and she's like, oh, okay, we'll see. Because she'd never known anything else. So I have to imagine that when she arrived, it was like culture shock. Like, wait, I can just enter this hotel through the front door? Like,
I can just go to the bathroom without someone trying to burn me out of it? Like, really?
I can just stand in line for a drink. I don't have to, like, give a white person the spot in line in front of me. Like, if Black people come and see my show, they can sit wherever their ticket, like, whatever they paid for their tickets. They don't have to just automatically sit in the back of the theater. Like, I have to imagine. What do you think her emotions would have been for that, Nathan? Like,
I think she had to have felt happy about that in some form or fashion.
I have to imagine that it would be like very liberating, like very like, oh, I just get to be a normal person here.
Yeah, right. But now it's time to perform.
The theater.
Her first number to make her famous is called. God damn it! With these titles of these goddamn songs, they're never good. The title of this song is The Savage Dance. Not in love with it. Yeah,
not in love with it.
But the audience loved it, and
Josephine is dressed in a feather skirt some big chunky jewelry, some sandals, and that's it.
Yes.
Dim titties are all out. And Paris loved dim titties.
I mean, the French people love them titties. Like, let's be
Who doesn't love dim titties? Titties are great. I love dim titties.
Titties are great no matter what size or shape.
Yes, 100%.
That's my Dr. Seuss moment right there.
Oh, all the titties that you'll see. I'm wondering, because I want to post some of the pictures that remain, like, still survive of her in this costume, but I don't know. Do you think Instagram will take down pictures if I post dim titties on them?
Well, I don't see any nipple, so I think we're okay.
That one I sent you earlier, though, there was some nipple in there.
There was nipple. Yeah. But in these photos, there's no nipple. But
yeah,
in this dance, she was carried out by this big, muscly guy who dressed similarly and throws her around. She lands and splits and kicks. And she gets up and starts doing this dance that was supposed to be, like, representative of, African-style dances. But no idea if they actually consulted with African dance experts or if this was just a racist trope that Europeans thought that African dances were, but doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Loved it. And they were tripping over themselves just to get tickets to see dim titties.
Dim titties. It was all anyone could talk about. And we have a picture in the show notes of Josephine and her male dancer. And like, how fun is that picture? Like, they look like they're having a good time. Though, again, it could be a little bit degrading to be like...
A little bit.
Yeah.
You're black, so you have to wear these black...
loincloths, basically.
Yeah. It's a little racist.
Yeah.
So...
But in no time, Josie from St. Louis was the talk of the town in Paris. Y'all, she went from 0 to biggest celebrity in, like, blink of an eye, overnight. She gets the nickname the Black Venus. She's making $250 a week, which I did, like, a rough conversion of on this website. So that's about $5,000 a week in modern day money. Can you imagine?
She's looking it up.
Just a year ago, just a couple of years ago, she was sleeping in a cardboard box.
And now she's making fancy champagne, toasting everybody, dancing with her titties out, loving her life.
Imagine. She is hanging out with... I read this one thing because, like, Pablo Picasso loved her. And I read this one thing where she pretended like she didn't know Picasso's name. And she was like, oh, that guy that does the doodles, Pazan Pizzago or something, like, and just, like, got his name wrong on purpose.
I love it.
She's touring
She's in
Europe.
high society, right?
Money. She's making so much money.
And before long, she's in her own shows. She is starring in her own shows. And Banana Skirt has entered the chat.
If you know nothing about Josephine Baker, like if you know one thing about her, you probably know the Banana Skirt dance, which we will definitely post a picture of on our Instagram, or just look it up, search Josephine Baker, Banana Skirt. It's her most famous look. She's wearing a banana skirt, like a skirt.
And that's it.
And that's it. A skirt made of plastic bananas, and that is it. Again, them titties tittying. They are tittying all over Paris.
And these titties gonna tits.
Tits. In the 90s, they HBO made a biopic on Josephine Baker's life. Did you get a chance to watch that, Nathan? It's completely up on YouTube.
Yes, I did. It's great.
So, they recreated this dance, which I appreciated so much, because there are videos on YouTube of, like, the dance, but it's hard to watch because they're videos from the 30s, like, it's not easy to watch. So they recreated this dance for that movie, which I think the movie was pretty good, so go watch it. It's on YouTube. But basically, the banana skirt dance is, again, don't love it, It's set in a jungle. Josephine is living in a jungle, wearing her bananas and pearls and nothing else. And Titty's just vibing out there in the jungle. And then this white guy in like a safari outfit comes out with this big net. And and that is the entire dance. He tries to catch her while she runs away. And that's the dance. And she does her goofy faces. She does the Charleston. She does the quote-unquote traditional dance, like African dances. It's slapstick. It's all over the place. And it's all anyone could talk about.
This doesn't seem problematic at all.
Problematic. It's a little bit problematic, yeah.
Yeah, but if Josie felt any kind of demeaned by this performance, she didn't let it show because she was absolutely in love with how everyone loved her and they were love her for loving them. And that's showbiz, kid. That's what the world that she was in.
She was loving this new world that she's in. Yeah, pretty much all of Europe was in love with her. This is not long after World War I, and people were thirsty for fun and fantasy and goofy, and she was all of that. She was different and not afraid to, like, make fun of herself, and she wanted to keep it lighthearted, just as what people needed. Even her terrorizing the city of Paris with her pet cheetah is what everyone needed.
Wait, did you just say she had a pet cheetah?
Yup. Chiquita the cheetah.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
She would bring Chiquita the cheetah on stage with her for the banana skirt dance. And sometimes Chiquita would, like, get into the orchestra pit. And, like, so you would, like, the music would just stop because everyone's running from the cheetah. And again, that is just what the people needed. They needed this, like, levity. They needed something funny. And she would walk Chiquita the cheetah around the streets of Paris with a diamond-studded collar.
I love this. I
mean,
I don't like animal cruelty, but, I mean, if I were to be an animal, I would want a diamond-studded collar. Okay,
and you would want to be walked around by Josephine Baker, I think.
I mean, this might be a kink of mine. We never know.
Well, why don't we? Why don't we just take a minute to process
Nathan and
everything,
his weird ass kinks,
everything there. And maybe I do need another drink after having that image in my head. And we will be right back.
Thank you and good night.
And we're back. All right, so along the way, she meets this man who calls himself an Italian count.
Yeah.
He, just like Josephine, liked to quote-unquote improve on life. Not lie, improve on life. So he almost certainly wasn't actually a count. He was originally a stonemason from Sicily, but he had moved to Paris and reinvented himself, which, good for him. He was a smart guy, he was well-connected, and he was obsessed with Josephine.
His name was Giuseppe Abatino, but everyone called him Pepito.
Pepito. I love that. Pepito.
Sounds like he has a small dick. And by 1927, he became her manager and her lover for the next 10 years. And he was like, look, people in Paris get bored easily. So you, Josie, need to invent yourself. And not just invent yourself, but constantly reinvent yourself.
Reinvent, yeah.
You need to learn every kind of dance. So let's take ballet lessons. And she did take ballet lessons from George Balanchine, which that's just a small name that you throw out in the ballet world.
MBD.
Yeah, you need to learn how to sing. Let's take voice lessons from Nathan Foster. You know, just like George Balanchine. Oh no.
Yes.
Terrible.
Nathan in his past life giving Josephine Baker voice lessons.
And for the love of God, learn French. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? Take some French lessons.
Yes, you need to learn to speak the fucking language. And at first, it seems like Josie was a little nervous. Like, is this guy a con man? Does he just want to take my money? Does he actually want to help me? Does he actually love me? But he actually turned out to be a really, really good manager. And he was legitimately in love with her, just like everyone else.
I know, everyone was.
But he was like really, really in love with her. I wish Pepito was in the story for longer because I kind of like him. Yeah, and it worked. While he was her manager, she made serious fucking money. That $5,000 a week is like chump change now. Like, she is rolling in it.
And it's really smart for her to be continually reinventing herself because she's like the modern day Madonna.
It's giving me Madonna a lot, like how back in the 80s and 90s Madonna had a new look, had a new style, had a new genre just about every 5 years. And it kept people interested.
Yeah, Paris, France, they're all captivated by her, and their attention spans are really short. Ours are shorter now, but they're really short, especially for starlets. But Pablo Picasso called her the Nefertiti of now.
I love that. Whatever she called him, she was like, Publico Pajarzo, you know, like she didn't know his name, like
Pajama Picasso.
Yeah, that like capitalizing on her popularity, she opens a club called Chez Josephine, which is still open, though today it's still open, it's been continuously open, but now it's called Chez Dumont. Josie loved her club. She loved being a club owner because on stage, she got to perform to her fans, but at the club, she got to party with her fans and hear them tell her how much they loved her performances.
I love this because that's what I like, is when I get off stage and people are like, oh my God, you were so great. And I'm like, thank you.
Come to my club, I'll buy you a drink, and you can tell me that all night.
Yeah, so she goes straight from her stage performances where she danced her ass off straight to the club where she danced her ass off again with her friends all night. And then this woman still had so much energy and just absolute love for life. And everyone loved being around her. And she didn't want to just dance with famous stars. She didn't just want to dance with high society. She got the cooks out. She got the servants out, the waiters, the hostesses. She got the who let the dogs out.
She'd be like, yes. Oh, your dog's here? Bring your dog out on the dance floor. I love that she was like, look, I've been a washerwoman before. You're washing our linens and stuff in the back. Come dance a song. Like, I just love, I wish I could have partied with Josephine Baker. That sounds like such a time. Speaking of partying with Josephine Baker, lots of people did. We're not going to go into it because it's not really an integral part of her story. But if you're interested, maybe we can do a Patreon again. She had so many lovers.
She was a bisexual bitch. And she was men and women, and she played around with it.
Oh. Did you just come up with that yourself? She loved the men and women, and she loved to play around with it? Okay. But no, her son...
Fill in the dot.
Yeah. Her son would later write a biography saying that she had a short affair with Frida Kahlo.
Oh, hey, unibrow. I see you.
I would have loved to have partied with Josephine Baker and Frida Kahlo. Like, can you even imagine?
I mean, that would be a blast.
That would be a fucking blast. Absolutely. And they talk about their friend Parjo Paglabo or whatever his name is.
Parjo Pajama Picasso.
Pajama Picasso.
So in 1927, Josie made history by, not just partying with Pajama Picasso, but by being the first Black woman to appear as a lead in a movie. Let me say that again. In 1927, Josie made history by being the first Black woman to appear as a lead in a movie. Okay.
Love this. It seems like the movie probably wasn't very good, but it doesn't matter. It is the point. Like, it is that she, like, what I guess before then they were just like, we can't put a Black woman on film. It'll burn people's eyeballs out. And like, no, she was that level of star. They were like, we gotta put this woman in a film. I love that. She is doing so much. She is making so much money. And she is one of the richest, independently wealthy women in the world. And it's 100% self-made. Something I love about Josephine is she is never... Yeah, she does go on to have some advantageous relationships later. But she has never relied on men for her money, for her security. She is an independently wealthy woman. Yes, her fake count helped her get there. But it's her name. It's her that's making this money, you know? So love this journey.
So something else we love is that she would go to the really poor slums of Paris and be like, hey, what do y'all need? Y'all need shoes, bread, blankets, a little bit of cocaine. No, she didn't say that last part.
We don't know. We weren't there. We weren't there.
Yeah.
She may have.
A little bit of snuff. Who knows? And then she would send one of her assistants back the next day and they would give them shoes, bread, blankets, maybe a little cocaine. But she did this for years. Yeah. She knew what it was like to be in poverty, so she gave it to other people. Yeah. So this is really great about her.
She's a really generous person. I think in part 2 we'll probably get into that a little bit more, but she just has a heart of fucking gold. So she's one of the most popular women in the world. We've established this. However, there were 2 markets in the world where she was not really getting the love that the rest of the world was giving her. So we're going to wind down this episode by discussing these 2 places that didn't love her. And sadly, we have to start at home. She was not a hit in the United States.
No, she was not in the U.S. So she returned to the U.S. in 1936, about 9 years after she left. And she got a spot on Broadway, and she's ready to knock everybody's bras off. Mm-hmm. And they're not ready for her titties. First of all, she arrives, and a friend of hers who's a Japanese heiress picks her up at the port in, pink Rolls Royce and, driving it in style, except they get to the hotel where she had reservations for like weeks. And the manager was like, I'm sorry. Didn't realize you were Black. And she's like, excuse me, I've been in France this whole time and nobody gives a fuck about what color I am. And they're like, no, you can't stay here. And she's like, ugh. They ended up going to like 5 or 6 hotels in New York, and she, the most famous and rich woman in the world, was turned away from every single one of them. And each time, Josie, like the badass bitch she is like, your loss. I'll spend my money elsewhere.
But she was humiliated. I mean, how soul-crushing is that? Of course she was. That is so embarrassing. And finally, her friend was like, look, my family has an apartment in the city. We usually rent it out to artists to use for like, a creating space. We don't have anybody renting it right now. I don't know what state it's in. I don't know if the sheets on the bed are clean, but you can stay there. And so Josephine's like, fine. But then once they got back to the apartment, obviously Josephine just breaks down and is just like, this whole time she's been acting like, well, I don't want to stay anywhere that I'm not wanted. I'm too good for this place anyway. But then once she gets where she's like,
wanted
in secluded space, she just breaks down and cries, just like, what do I have to do? What do I have to do to get the respect of the people in my own fucking country? And just like sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. Oh, I hate that.
I hate this. Okay, so she's there. She's there in the U.S. Why? Because she needs to perform.
Yeah.
So she tones down this performance because she can't dance topless on Broadway.
Yeah. Americans ain't ready.
Yeah. It's a totally different show, but she still sang. She still danced. And she gave it her all. And people hated it.
Hated it.
So it was like 1-star review on Yelp. And everybody was like, oh my God, what is wrong with this? And they're like, it was just peasantry. And basically the Americans were like, go back to France.
That y'all, if y'all wanna look up some of the reviews, we've decided not to read them here because like one of them's even like, how did this daughter of a washerwoman make it onto Broadway? Like, and then just really racist, just ugh. So yeah, she is like heartbroken and goes back to Paris. And when she gets to Paris, when she gets back, she's like, fuck it. And she renounces her American citizenship.
Fuck it, I'm French now.
I'm French now.
Exactly
Fuck it. Exactly.
I want to do that one day. I want to walk over to like whoever the prime minister is and be like, fuck it, I'm French now. And they'll be like,
I'm
yes,
French now.
You are. Queen's
is
podcast.
It Macron? Isn't that the president or whatever now?
As long as he serves me a macaroon at the same time.
Oh, I love a good macaroon. Gives up her American citizenship. Fuck it, I'm French now. Like, she's like, why would I ever want to go back there? I am literally the toast of Paris. And there, I can't even get a hotel. Like, what?
Yeah, people in France would pay her to stay in hotels, but
yes!
in America, she's being turned away from them.
Fuck it. She also broke up with Mr. Fake Count.
That's
Pepito
good.
or whatever his name was. Well, I feel like he really did love her, but so she marries this dude, and like legit this time, because she couldn't marry the Count guy, because she actually didn't get around to divorcing Willie Baker until she went back to New York. And so, yeah. And so she marries this guy named Jean Leon. It's spelled like lion, though, which I love. And I bet she loved as an animal lover. He's not particularly important to this story. He's only around for less than 10 years. So we might not even mention him again. But this is husband number 3. Though I do think, what do you think? I think in her heart, she considered herself married to Pepito. To Fake Count.
Yeah, but I think she liked this guy. I really do think she liked Jean Leon.
Legally only marriage number 2, but also kind of marriage number 4.
4.
Well,
yeah, you're right.
So,
you're right.
And she's just turned 30.
Oh, hey, girl. So we said that there were 2 places that didn't like her, and it sucks that one of them happened to be her home country, but the other one, just a wee bit scarier. They were very much not fans of her in a little country called Germany in the late 20s and early 30s. Mm-hmm. So her shows still sold out, but people were literally scared into not attending them by this group of people called the Brown Shirts. Without much going into it, they are basically Nazis.
Yeah. Also, she was mixed race, which Nazis, very well known for not liking mixing the races. For this group of people, they looked at her and also just called her immortal. Not immortal, Jesus, immoral. They were
difference.
Like, big difference. 1 letter, big difference.
I'm the immortal of the immorals. That is my title.
Yes. So these people that you were talking about, the brown shirts, they kind of viewed themselves as like the morality police. And 1, she's mixed race, so she's already immoral from her existence. And 2, her dances were sexy, très sexy, like
très sexy.
But Josephine told a local newspaper, she's like, I'm not immoral. I'm just natural. Like, boobs are natural. They're not immoral. They exist. they're part of life, you know? One Austrian newspaper called her the Black Devil.
Oh, Lord.
Don't love.
Yeah. So Josie was doing a showcase with a blonde actress in Austria named Lee Settle, who was very traditionally Austrian looking, aka blonde hair, blue eyes, don't call me, don't at me, it's not my fault. And the newspaper read, "How dare they put that," insert insults we aren't going to say right now. "How dare they put that on stage with Leah Siddle?" Like,
and Leah was like, "Wait, no, I love Josephine. I am so excited to work with her. Don't print that. Don't act like it's an insult to me to put me on stage with her." But of course, they didn't
Nope.
print her response to it. They just printed, "How dare they put this Aryan goddess on stage with this mixed race person," and very much made it read like this actress Leah agreed with those statements when she didn't. So I think that's important. I don't know who this Leah Sedol lady is. She doesn't come up again, but I think it's important to note that she did not want to be racist. I like her.
I like her. I like her a whole lot. What's her number? So yeah, Josie was like, "You know what? I don't need y'all." So her show in Berlin was supposed to run for 6 months, but after 3 weeks, she was like, "Contract broken. I don't feel safe. I don't like it here. You guys treat me like crap. I'm gonna get the fuck out."
And it also sucks because it does seem like the general public was excited for her coming, but it was just this radical government movement that like literally told people like, "Yeah, you can buy tickets to this show, but we're going to be standing at the door making sure you can't go in," you know? So it's really sad. Also another super bummer. So the guys that had been managing her show on the Berlin side, the ones that like they had to like let her break her contract and everything. She was like, "I don't feel safe." They were a couple of Jewish brothers known as the Rotter brothers. And after Josie bounced, they were like, "Hey, maybe we should bounce as well." And so they tried to leave Germany, but they were hunted down and they did not survive the 30s. I know. Isn't
this
that
is a
so
problem.
sad?
This is a problematic time in European history. So let's fast forward a few years to 1939. That's like a fast forward of anxiety.
Fast forward cry.
Yes. Josephine at this point is 100% French citizen. She's married to a French guy. They bought a French chateau together called the Chateau d'Armillion. And
Ooh.
How French is that?
I love it. Can you get more French?
Where's my Bordeaux?
Where's my croissant?
Where's my champagne? And France decides to declare war on Germany. And to be honest, this is all not looking good because it's 1939. And if Josephine had been a man, aka if she had a dick, I think she would have actually enlisted in the army. But she famously said, "France made me who I am, and I'm ready to give my life to France."
Imagine if America would have treated her right. She could have done the same thing over here, but it wasn't long until she was contacted by the French intelligence agency. And so this spy, like this basically like spy handler guy, calls her up and was like, "Hey, I heard you were interested in doing your part for the war. Were you serious about that? Because this is not going to be easy. Being an intelligence agent for a government during wartime is not going to be easy. We cannot guarantee your safety. Are you really ready to risk your life for France?" And she's like, "Fucking try me. Let's go."
Yes! And I think that's where we're going to leave her for today.
Yes. Oh my God. I cannot wait to get into Josephine the Spy next week.
Yes,
all right, Nathan.
Queen.
Well, this was so much fun. I'm going to go top off my drink and have a good rest of the night nerding out about Josephine Baker as a spy. So I'll talk to you later. Cheers, bitches.
Cheers, bitch.